Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I took a little impromptu break, as you guys had seen. I know it's kind of a short one. As you guys have seen, my horse Cass unexpectedly and suddenly passed away the day before Thanksgiving and my birthday, unfortunately. I'm not gonna get into the specifics of it because it is honestly hard to talk about. This is my fourth time filming this already. As you guys know, I try very hard on my channel to be honest and transparent and share the parts of my life that matter to me, and Cass was absolutely one of those. And I'm not going to get into the specifics of everything that happened, but he did not suffer. He was not sick. It was just his time, unfortunately. And it's very hard. It's been a hard week without him, that's for sure. Had to take a second there. Obviously, grief comes in waves, as we all know, and my husband and I have dealt with a lot of loss these past few years, unfortunately. So we're no stranger to it, but it doesn't make it any easier. And I know so many of you guys can relate to that as well. And I'm so sorry that you can too. But I'm just trying to take it a day at a time. It's definitely weird when you are used to seeing someone every day, every other day, sometimes twice a day. And for Cass, he had a lot of issues over the years, to put it lightly, as all over my Instagram stories, his legs are blowing up every other week, and he had a lot going on. And so I'm relieved that he had a very straightforward passing, and he deserved that. He was just such a sweet horse. As he was not affectionate. He did not cuddle, he did not lick you, but he just had a very direct way of showing his affection, and he really gravitated towards certain people. And I'm glad that he got to enjoy his retirement years here in North Carolina in a field of grass with some friends and just get a different way of life than he had had before. So that definitely makes me happy. I took a little bit of time to spend with family. Obviously, with Thanksgiving, we had people coming in, and so it was nice to see some family. My sister was here, thankfully. She is my rock with all this stuff, as is my husband and my son. But it was nice to be surrounded by family and such. I spent some time going through all of your kind comments, and thank you guys so much. It brings me joy to talk about him, even though I'm sad. And so it's nice to be able to chat with you guys and messages and everything like that. But as much as I want to take more time, I think if I allowed myself too much time, I would get too okay with it. And so I'm trying to find a healthy balance with it. I'm going to take it a day at a time, a video at a time. Sometimes I might do more and sometimes I might not. I'm going to just see how I feel with it. And I know you guys are just such an amazing community and understand that. And so I really appreciate that. And I thank you so much. I'm so grateful for all of your support and kind messages. And this is also my favorite time of year, and I want to enjoy that. And I don't want to let this stop me from living myself too. So we are going to be doing 2 Christmas DIYs. Sorry, I know that was a doozy of an opening. We are going to be DIYing the Pottery Barn Gingerbread Man pillow. So many of you guys have asked me how I made this guy. So my sister actually wanted one herself. So this one is mine. I made one for her and I filmed it. So I'm going to share that one. It is quite long. I want to say it's 20 minutes just talking about him. So prepare to actually go through the steps and everything. I felt like last year when I did my snowflake DIY, I rushed it and I had to redo it. And I want to make sure if you guys want to make this happen that you adequately know how I did it. So that one is going to be the first one. The Pottery Barn one retails for, I think, $70, $80 or something like that. and I bought my fabric at Hobby Lobby for a yard and a half of it for $17, and so far I have made 4 and I still have fabric left. So this is a very, very budget-friendly way of doing it. Obviously we're doing it from scratch. The second DIY, we're going to be doing the Pottery Barn ceramic tree that matches the white houses that I recently shared. I think it is so, so pretty. I love adding into that Christmas village. I don't have any houses. I just started grabbing them this year because I knew I wanted to wait for these splurge-worthy ones. But this ceramic tree retails for $50 and is a little tiny. And so I wanted to do a DIY version myself to create a look for less. So that is going to be our second one. So thank you guys for your support. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving as well. I forgot, everything happened so fast. It was just a whirlwind, but I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get right into the Gingerbread Man pillow. So this is the Gingerbread Man pillow that I DIY'd. I wanted mine to look as close to the Pottery Barn one as I possibly could. So I created my own stencil for him. And I know a lot of you are going to ask, I have no idea how to upload this to a digital download. So if you guys have any tips for how I could do that, I would love to share it with you guys. But I grabbed some fabric from Hobby Lobby. It is this corduroy Sherpa. You can find it in the fabric section. We're going to use this side for it. I will say this is very thick, so you are going to have to hand stitch this. This is going to jam up your machine really bad, so I wouldn't even try personally. And then for this ribbon detailing, Hobby Lobby sells this ribbon in their fabric section as well. This is super affordable, and I just took it and layered it amongst itself to create the pattern that the Pottery Barn one has. And for the button details, I just grabbed some embroidery floss with a thicker needle to create the buttons. I did a dark green one. The Pottery Barn one is red. I just love green for the Christmas season, so I did that. But my sister wants pink, so she's gonna get a pink one instead. So I'm gonna share with you guys how about I made this. I hope you guys had a wonderful Thanksgiving with your friends and family. And again, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your ongoing support. You guys have been such an amazing community and group of people to be able to talk to and get to know, and comments and messages and everything. And I just really appreciate all your support and kind messages through all of this, and just in general as well. It is so greatly appreciated, and I'm so thankful for you all. Okay, so I have both my pieces cut, but we are going to be adding this detailing before we even stitch them together. So I have about a foot, like 12 inches or so, of the threading, and we're going to have it coming diagonally across it. So we're going to stitch it just to adhere it to it. And then I made sure that I was matching the Pottery Barn one, where there were 3 points that were coming in and 2 coming down, and the same for the bottom one, because I wanted this to be as close to it as possible. So I just have my needle and thread, and we're going to stitch that top part on. So you can see we already have it going in the same diagonal pattern that this one is, But in order to change direction, you're going to take your needle, and you want this cutting across evenly. So we have it starting about 1 inch from the inside seam. You want it ending about 1 inch from the inside seam as well. So you want this coming across the arm evenly. So I'm gonna hold my needle and fold it like that. And what I'll end up doing actually is taking it and stitching this line. Oops, sorry, this is hard to do on camera. I'm stitching this line here, but not down. I'm actually going to be stitching it from the inside, so that way, like this one, you can't see any of my seams because they're actually underneath where I folded. Okay, so I brought this in a little bit closer, so hopefully this camera angle helps you out. So you want to make sure this is nice and flat. It does not need to be taut, because keep in mind we're stuffing this. So if it's too tight, it's actually going to buckle the fabric and it's going to look a little bit weird. So for my other one, I did it about the length of my needle. And then again, we're coming across at a diagonal. So I want to kind of see where this is going to end up. So this is an easy way for you to test out if you like your angles, like the length of it, and to kind of play around and see about where it's going to land. And once you determine where you want it to be, again, make sure it's nice and flat, and you're going to take your needle and dive it down and just, again, right up the back. Test your angle out before you pull it through. Make sure you're happy with that. And pull it through. And you're going to continue stitching this line here. For the other sides, I didn't cut the excess off, but for this one, I'm going to. So just right above there. And then you're gonna just go in and very, very carefully stitch it back and forth so that, again, this is a stuffed pillow. It's not going to last you forever, but we like to snuggle up with all these. So I wanna make sure nothing's going to pop off. So you're gonna carefully stitch that line that you created. And then before you tie it off, just double check you don't have anywhere pulling where it's exposing the threads. If you have any exposed threads, it means that it's not tight enough, and you're gonna have to just go in and add a couple more stitches to tighten it up there. But we're going to just flip this over and tie it off. And then you're going to continue it the same way going the other way. So I like to hold my line where it's going to be right here, create another one, and do the same thing again. So I'm just double checking the angles and the line, making sure I'm happy with it before I pull my needle through all the way, so that way I can easily adjust it if I don't like how it is. But then we're going to just repeat the same exact process until we get to the other side of the arm. Okay, so now we have everything else stitched up and we are to the end point again, and you want to make sure that you have it evenly set the same way the other one is going, and when we have the excess we'll trim it off, but we're just going to stitch this one on first the same way that we did the other side. And then I'm just gonna leave a little bit of slack just to make sure when we stitch the front and the back sides together, it's not so short that it'll pop out the front. So we're going to just give it a little bit extra there. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Same principles will be applied on the bottom. We're just going to do bigger groupings for them. But I'm gonna do the other top and then I'll check back with you. Okay, so I have the other 3 on, and for this last one, I just wanted to show you guys real quick. I won't fully repeat it, but the angle that you want to start this one at, you want about a solid inch, maybe 1.25 inches of the way down from where the turn happens. You're going to literally just go straight across to start it off, and then you're going to follow that same pattern, but at least that way you can have them be as even as possible. And again, we're going to have the 3 points, just like the top part, going inward and finishing it off. So we're going to follow the same method we did for all the other sides. And again, I'm starting it from that top part, a needle's length down, and check and make sure you're happy with that angle before you stitch it on, because you can always just pull the needle out and adjust it if you're not happy with it. Okay, so we have all of our little icing moments on. Now we're going to move on to the buttons. Now, there are so many different color selections at Hobby Lobby. I did this really pretty green one. It's number 934. My sister wants pink, so I'm gonna give her pink. But you can pick out whatever color it is you want. You can go red, white, brown, whatever makes you happy with that. And you're going to take a much bigger needle for your embroidery thread. And the first button is going to start just at that second line here, and then you're going to evenly space them out. So I'm just going to make this easy for myself and fold the gingerbread in half and find that line where I wanted it to start and pinch it, and that way I know exactly where I want the first line to come out from. And that way it's nice and centered already. And we're going to go down about 3/4 inch, just straight down and out the back. And you're just gonna go back and forth with this a few times to create a line to work off of. And then if you guys can see, I actually went side to side. So we're just starting going top to bottom to just give ourselves some boundary for where we want it to be, and we will work off of that. So once you've got a few threads just giving you the general direction, you're going to take it and you're going to come in just below the top, and you're going to go side to side instead. And that way you will have full coverage to create the button look. So we have the first one on. Now I'm just going to evenly space out the other 2. So now we're to the point that everything's done except for the face, but we're gonna do that after we stitch it together. So we're gonna take our other one, put both of the outer parts facing each other, and you're gonna stitch around the entire thing, but leave this part open so that we can turn it inside out. Okay, so everything is all stitched up. I just left this one part open, and you're going to go through and turn everything inside out, making sure you're pushing all your edges in so you don't have anything missing from it. So now we have our whole thing turned around, and you can see because we did these seams this way, they're nice and clean. We're going to stuff this and then work on the face, because that way, once the face is full, if it kind of pulls it forward a little bit, I'm not going to put the eyes too far up its head. So now it is all stuffed up. I'm just going to leave it open for now, just in case I need to make any adjustments for anything, but that way we can see exactly where we want the eyes and mouth to land with it already stuffed. Now for the eyes, we're actually going to crochet a single chain and just twirl it around. I'm going to do 10. And you're just gonna have a little chain like this, and what we're actually going to do is twirl it in a circle, tucking the extra behind it. And I'm just going to sew this together by hand really quick. And there we have an eyeball. So now we have both of the eyes done. And I did do this when it was not all put together on my second one, and the eyes just ended up a little too high. So that's why I'm doing it after the fact. So I'm just gonna take this stick, it came with the stuffing, and just kind of see where the middle point is to make sure I spread them out evenly and just sew them on. I'm sure I'm gonna get a question asking how I'm doing this. So I'm just resting it on the gingerbread and taking the needle underneath it and pushing up, grabbing just the very edge of it. And that is as simple as it is. You can obviously unstuff this and sew it on that way, but honestly, because of the fabric, you can't even tell that I'm doing it this way, and I just found it easier to make sure that the placement looked good. So now we are going to move on to the mouth. Both of the eyes are fully sewed on. I did a single chain of 22, and then what we're gonna do, oh, there we go, is just fold it into itself. And then I just have some excess yarn here. Sorry, this is hard to do through the camera. And then I'm just kind of going through and bringing both pieces together. And I'm gonna go down the whole thing so that it joins it to create the mouth. And so you'll see that it'll all come back together with each other. So we're gonna fold this other piece over too and create the mouth. So here is our mouthpiece. Now when you go to sew it on, you wanna kind of manipulate it to pull the very, very edges up a little bit to give it that smile. So we're gonna sew this on and then stitch it closed. And here it is all finished up with its face and everything. So now we are going to stitch it closed. I do find it's a little easier to take a little bit of stuffing out first and then start stitching it and add it back in before it's completely finished. So you're just gonna do a ladder stitch. That way you are hiding the seam. Start a little bit high from where you want to go, and you're just gonna crisscross it. So you're gonna go on one side, come to the other, And then you're going to do one step below the one on the same side, and then hop over to the other one. And you're just going to continue this all the way through. Okay, so I have still a couple of inches to work with here, but I'm just going to push that stuffing back up that was in the arm, so that way I can make sure it is still nicely fluffed while I can fit my hand in it. So now I'm going to continue the ladder stitch all the way down, closing it off to give it a nice and seamless look. I know that this was a very lengthy walkthrough tutorial video. If there are any questions that you have that I did not cover in the video, be sure to leave me a comment down below. I am always happy to help out. And here is the pink one for my sissy, all finished up. You can never have too many gingerbread men. And here's a finished look at how my gingerbread turned out. I totally forgot to get footage of Sissy's all finished up, but with the time off that I took, I ended up making a Mrs. Spice as well. So we each have our own gingerbread because there are never enough gingerbread. So now we are moving on to the tree, and I'm going to be using the same oven bake clay that I did for my scalloped tray DIY. And last time I did not use a clay softener, and I feel like that definitely would have helped me. So I'm going to give this a try. To the side here, I sketched out roughly what the Pottery Barn one looks like to know that there are 6 rows in it and just kind of where to go off from. I'm going to pay attention to the Pottery Barn one was a little bit thicker and it almost has a petal-like shape detail. So we're going to be making separate pieces and building the piece from there. So we're going to start off by opening this up. And I got this in the color white, by the way. These little tools come in a pack from Michael's if you just want to have some easy stuff to use. So I'm going to be taking a small part of the clay and mixing in a little bit of the softener to see how it incorporates together. Okay, so off camera I rolled this to combine it. I have to say the softener absolutely does work. So I would recommend making sure that you grab that. We're gonna roll this out. I might add a little bit more of the softener just so it's a little bit easier for me. Roll it out and cut out our petal-like shapes. So now with the clay all evenly rolled out, I'm going to roughly cut out the shape. And then you can take your fingers and very carefully just kind of push the edges to give it a softer edge rather than a harsh one. And then the Pottery Barn ones almost have this like stamp like detail in the center. So I'm gonna use this to kind of push it down a little bit. That might be a little harsh, so we'll use our fingers to soften that up. I feel like you could literally just take your pinky finger to give you the same idea for that one. And there we go. Now we're just gonna make a million of them. I ended up grabbing some painter's tape. I just taped 2 pieces sticky side together to create a template, so that way I could just trace it onto the actual clay to make sure that all of my shapes were about the same size as each other. Obviously nothing's gonna be perfect as this is handmade, but I wanted them to be as close to each other as it could be. So after making nearly 40 of these, it's time for assembling. What I ended up doing is taking some clay and rolling it out into a longer cylinder, so that way I can just stack them on top of each other. It'll make it easier for the pieces to bake evenly, as well as making the assembly process a little more straightforward than it being one solid piece. I made sure to test the fit out of everything so that way I could make some adjustments before I actually baked it. I love the oven baked clay because it stays soft until you actually bake it, so you actually have a lot of play time with it, which is great. It's a super straightforward bake process, 20 minutes in the oven, just follow the instructions. And then I just grabbed everything. I made sure that I left it all in order and by section so I could put it together the same way and hot glued it together. Here it is all put together. I did run into an issue with the very top. I had to crack it to make it fit. The pieces shrunk very, very slightly in the oven, so just keep that in mind. I also should have made like a better base to have it sit on when it was baking so that it didn't like come down more, but I think it looks so good. Now we are going to take some of that gloss and paint it with that to give it that ceramic look. And here it is all dried with the glaze, and it really gives it that beautiful ceramic look. And here's a finished look at the tree. It turned out so good, it was so budget friendly, and ties in perfectly with the high-end Pottery Barn houses. So that is going to wrap up today's video, friends. I sure hope that you enjoyed. I know it was very lengthy. I just wanted to make sure that I was being really thorough so that you properly knew how I was doing everything and could fully understand it. So that way, if you want to recreate it yourself, you can do that, take some notes, whatever helps out. If there's any questions that you have that maybe I didn't cover, leave me a comment down below, send me an email, send me a message over on Instagram. I am always happy to help. Thank you guys so much for your ongoing support and kindness. This community has just been such a blessing, and I just really appreciate it so very much. I'm excited to share some more Christmas decorating inspiration for the season, and before we know it, Christmas will be here. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.